This is section 2.1 of AP Microeconomics. Let's get started. To understand demand, the very first thing you need to know is what the law of demand states. The law of demand states that a decrease in the price of a good causes an increase in quantity demanded, and vice versa. That makes sense. Price goes down, you're able to purchase more. Okay. Now, take a look at this graph. The demand curve is a downward sloping graph. As price goes down, quantity demanded increases. As price goes up, quantity demanded decreases. It makes sense, this negative correlation. One thing to keep in mind is that quantity demanded is only affected by the price of the good. Okay, so remember, the price is on the vertical axis. So if that price moves, then our quantity demanded will move. The variable on the x-axis is going to change. Okay, this is different than demand. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we're simply talking about quantity demanded. Now, why is it when the price falls that quantity demanded goes up? There's three reasons. The most important two are these first two. The first is the income effect. Your purchasing power goes up. Makes sense. Something's on sale, you feel wealthier, you buy some more, higher purchasing power. Number two, when the price of a good goes up, people will substitute that good for less expensive goods. Price of Coke goes up, people might turn to Pepsi. And then diminishing marginal utility simply is the idea that as you consume more of something, your additional utility falls. So would you really pay the same amount of money for one slice of pizza that you would the fourth slice of pizza if they were sold individually? No, because the first slice of pizza will give you more utility than the fourth. All right? But the first two are the ones the AP loves to reference on the exam specifically. Now, how do we actually get a market? A market is just adding up all of the consumers, what they're willing to pay, and how much they're willing to buy at these specific prices. So if we look at this table here, let's assume we had these three consumers in this economy, and at a price of $1, notice all the quantities are willing to buy. So on a market graph, the quantity would be 23 at a price of 1, which is what you see here. At a price of 2, the quantity would be 17. And this makes sense, and this follows the law of demand. Okay. Now, each of these consumers might have their own individual graph for them that you could graph. But specifically, we're going to talk about markets. All right. And many times it's going to be competitive markets, but we'll get into that another day. So it's very important to know that this is called a horizontal summation. Remember, you're adding up all of the quantities, which of course is on the horizontal axis. All right. Now, remember what I just mentioned a minute ago? Quantity demanded and demand. Quantity demanded is only affected by price. So when price moves, you're going to have a movement along this demand curve. It's going to change the quantity. Anything on the vertical axis cannot shift a graph. Because when you shift a graph, look, you're saying that something other than this variable is causing me to buy more. It's causing more of the item to be purchased. Look, at a price of $3.50, people are buying more. At a price of $2.50, people are buying more. That's what a shift means. It means you're buying, well, to the right at least, you're buying more or you're buying less, even though the price is staying the same. Okay, so demand is a plural. It's like moving the entire carton of eggs. Quantity demanded is going from one egg to the next because price is on the vertical axis. You cannot shift a graph with this variable. It must be something other than price of that product. Okay. Now, when I say they're affected by changes in supply, this will be something that I'll talk about on another day. All right. Right now, just understand that it's a movement is quantity demanded and it's affected by price, and a shift of the graph means it's not price that caused it to shift. Something else caused it to shift. Now, what are those shifters? What are the determinants that cause consumers to buy more of something even though the price for that good remained the same? Let's think about the market for coffee. It's extremely important to always identify the market for or the market that you're talking about. In this case, we're talking about coffee. So if there were more favorable changes in tastes, for instance, a celebrity advertises coffee at no cost to the coffee company, just goes on concerts, just starts drinking coffee, that's a favorable demand for coffee. If there were more buyers in a market means more potential demand. Expectations. If I feel coffee prices are going to go up in 2 weeks, I'm going to go out and buy a ton of coffee right now before those coffee prices go up. That would also increase demand. What if I earn more money? Well, as long as it's a normal good. If I earn more money and it's a normal good, demand would increase, because the definition of a normal good is that if income goes up, demand goes up. If income goes down, demand goes down. Steak, vacations, laptops, all examples of normal goods. When you think of inferior goods, it's the opposite. It means you would buy more if you actually made less money. Like, think about things you would buy more of if you were unemployed. You'd buy, maybe more chicken. Maybe that would be your go-to protein, because chicken is the cheapest protein. Okay. Generic brands of items, medicine, ramen noodles, things like that. Those are things that if you're unemployed, you buy more of maybe the cheaper brands and the cheaper meals. Now, another thing that shifts the demand curve, in this case, we're talking about coffee, would be the price of substitute goods. Tea is a substitute. If tea was more expensive, people would buy less tea and more coffee. If for a complementary good, Coffee Mate can go with coffee. What if Coffee Mate prices go down? Well, if Coffee Mate prices go down, I'll buy more Coffee Mate, so quantity demanded of Coffee Mate would go up, but demand for coffee would increase, okay? So once again, the price of another good can shift the demand for coffee, but not the price of coffee, because it's on the vertical axis for coffee, all right? Anything else can shift coffee, just not the price of coffee. Here are some examples. You could take a look at this, pause the video, and try these on your own, but just to give you one example, if the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl, which will absolutely never happen, well, the demand for Lions t-shirts, again, which market are we talking about? We're talking about Lions t-shirts. That's a favorable taste and preference. Demand would increase for t-shirts. Try these on your own. Let me know what you think. And that's it for demand.